Okay, hi there YouTube. Again, not well. But test stream for a idea I had. I've seen a lot of Dreams creators creating stuff and they're having issues with certain points, like they can't get this to work properly, can't get that to work properly. I just recently helped a guy because he's having issues with one of the mechanics in the game. So, call this an interactive stream if you want. If you've got a question or suggestion on what I could build or anything like that. If it lets you comment it, comment it. If it doesn't, then I apologize. I'm dealing with what I can. This is literally streamed from the PlayStation straight through the share function straight to YouTube. So it says off here to the right, as you can see, it's got the comment section. No viewers, no comments. So I'll do what I can. First of all, I'll show you some of the tips I've got. Let's try the sky, for example. If I pull out the sky thingy, and I want to turn the brightness of the sky down, turn the sun off, and we're going to turn the intensity off, horizon to 0, and the randomness to 0. What I've just done there, turning that, and that off, which means the sky is now more of a matte background. It's not flickering around. It's more like a painted sky dome. But we don't want a painted sky dome, we want some sort of sky. So if you grab the fog emitter, and hence the reason I dropped this rock, choose the top of the rock somewhere, left shoulder and square to open up the chip's controls. Clouds are white, so we're going to go white. Density doesn't really matter. If you look, the more density you make it, the harder it is to see through. So left shoulder, or L1, and whatever is usually, or R1 and whatever is usually the shortcut keys. But if you've made a mistake, just doing the where are we? Just doing the so if I go, for example, that, didn't like if I go, oops, wrong button. When you changed it, if you look down to the right, yeah, you got the thing showing up. It'll tell you like enter the value and all that. You can turn all that off, but triangle goes straight back to default. To put the sky back how it was, but we'll go to there. And of course, we've got the sky the way it is, and white isn't showing up as white. Add manually. We'll go 2 into that. Makes the cloud look a bit more white. You could probably get away with a 1. Like if you go full on, it's going to be like that. We don't want that. So a low number. I'll show you what 1 looks like. See? I'll close this so you can see it. Very bearable. Then we get a square. And now with that there, this is an issue I have with this thing. Sometimes you'll along here get confused on which is up and down is normally Y. Right? So any game that has a X, Y, and Z, up and down is usually Y. The X and Z's are this way, and the best way to find out which one is which is look to your. Just say you want a certain way to be north. Oh, tip 2, left trigger, so L2 and triangle will align. double tip, if you got position move on, if I bring it up to here, so turn a little bit. If you got position move on and try and align it, it doesn't always align directly flat. Turn that off, align it, and then turn it back on, and it seems to line up correctly. And that is so you can move position on the X, Y, and Z's. You can see, like, you saw the blue, the red, and the thingies. Left and right on the D-pad is for undo and redo. So for example, if you move that one and you didn't like it, just tap left on the D-pad, it'll revert it to what it was before you moved it. So if we come down, we'll stick it near the top of the mountain somewhere. 200 to start with. Normally I would do, say, 1,000 or something like that, but I believe 200 will be more than enough for this. If we come down to our puppet, look up, see it looks like smog. We don't want to look like smog, so if we come in, density is not the problem. Noise strength, noise scale, and noise speed. Turn noise speed down fairly low. Clouds don't move fast. If you want it to look stormy, turn it up a bit. Again, pick a number, test it. Noise scale. If we turn this up nice and high, say we'll say a 50, that in theory will make the gaps a bigger gap. And then we're going to noise strength is how many gaps we're going to have. So I'll choose 50. Let's close it and have a look. So as you can see, it's got like some blue poking through. But I'm not liking the fact that it's only slightly visible. So if I go, we'll turn the density down, we'll go 15. Turn that strength up. Maybe not quite 100, we'll try 75. Right, and then if you push R3, it will actually play the thing. So if you close it, we're still in edit mode, but you can see the cloud is moving, and it doesn't seem to look like it's moving cloud-like. So jump back in there, and this is where we want to grab this one. Let's turn that up to, we'll say 15. And we're going to get the scale, and we're going to turn it down to give us more cloud. So we'll go 15 to match. Back out again and play it. Until it's playing by the little play icon down here. And if you look, that looks pretty good for clouds. Again, you can adjust all that. If you want stormy clouds, you'd come up here and go down to black. Oop, don't want to get a play. Just close you. Yeah, it looks more like a storm cloud. And if you want to even go the one better, like if we literally turn, we'll leave that as it is for now, but we'll add, I'll turn you back to white. If we get a gadgets in the, oop, where am I going there? Light source. Up here. Excuse me. Let's grab this light source. Again, if I align it, it's not always guaranteed it'll line up directly. So what you do is you go into here, turn it off, line it again, like that. Then we'll aim it down to roughly where that is, we'll center it, and then we can add full angle. If you look, if you look here, you can see it's a sharp edge. And that's a faded edge. You want the faded edge. Cast shadows, and then you can add an image. So if you want, for example, if you wanted to look like it's coming through, that one would be good for water. You just do a heap of blur, and that would be like coming through water or something like that. We don't need any of that, so we'll do that. Beam range. If you do a far beam, it means that because we're closer to the light source according to the range, it will be brighter. So just choose a range that's kind of skylight looking. That will add a bit of yellow to it. It's already got that, so we'll down a little bit. Leave the brightness. Again, you can adjust the brightness or you can adjust the beam range. Ideally, brightness is better to adjust and keep your range fixed. That way you can make the entire thing brighter or the entire thing duller. You can do this with keyframes as well, so you can make a daylight cycle, like day-night cycle. But we'll go back to the 50%. Leave it at that. So now when we come down here and grab our puppet, we've got the light source, and the light source is hitting the clouds. And obviously if you don't want the double shadows, you could, in theory, if you come up here and you go, turn that off, you'll only get the one shadow. And that shadow, again, excuse me, that shadow is coming from the skybox. You can turn the shadow off for that as well if you want. If you turn the shadow off for this one, I recommend turning the shadow on for that one. So you've at least got a shadow coming down. The good trick with what I've just done is if you look, you can see the shadows of the sky, of the clouds. See that smoke is giving off a what do you call it, like a shadow. Now, if you want to add a, in brackets, stormier look to it, we'd go, let's up the density a bit, we'll go 20. We're going to turn it to a dark. And we're even going to go to the sun. We're going to add that more of a bluish colour. So then we'll try that. So that will make it more of a stormy look. And if we go to the emitter and we turn up its speed, again, don't go too high, because if you go, for example, if you're 50, right, and then you try it, you'll see how it's going to look. So, not so much like a cloud, but more like surface of a water, which could also be used as. For example, if I get that now and go to density up a bit, we'll turn the density up to about, we'll try 40, and we'll go colour to about a blue, and then adjust it to roughly the blue of the water. Then if we move this down to about there-ish, then we test it, it looks more like an ocean. Admittedly, a very foggy ocean, but you know. Another way you could do it too, okay, just a quick tip on the user interface here. When that's ticked, it hides, it's non-X-ray. If you tick it, it's more of an X-ray. And then you can go there and there, and you can see there's the fog thingy, so we can go to surface. If we go, for example, density of 100, so that is fully thingy, we can go, we'll try an 85. And we'll go to scales. We'll try 40. The speed, you know what? Let's turn the speed fully up. Let's have a look at that. Now obviously the platform I'm on, which I'll get to in a second, is a different colour, so it doesn't look like water, but it looks very much like water. So if I got the platform, which I'll get onto now, again, if you don't want to see all that stuff, you come into here, not X-ray it. Well, it's not going to help with the thing because it's in the way, but that's how you can see through stuff. If you've got stuff that's hidden, which I don't at the moment, which is why you're not noticing it. For example, let's quickly add a ball, which you could use as a sun. If you got that and went like that and put up in the sky, that could be a sun. Right, but we don't want that to be visible, but we want to be able to bump into it. So we'll get it in front of our character. I'll show you the difference between, here we go, and then if I go over to here, make it invisible. As you can see, I can still see it. If I come into here, now it's fully visible. Now it's faint. If I close it, it's gone. It's back. So if you lose something in your scene because you've made it invisible, untick the eye. That will make it visible again. And because I've gone into here, it doesn't move. It is not visible, but it can be collided with. I'm going to test it. You can't see it, but if I walk forward, I bump into it. I can still collide with it. So that's how you can do, for example, the floor. Let's open up the floor. Again, a nice easy way to keep track of stuff. If you're using that as the floor, if you rename it by hovering over the thing and pushing square, try that again, X over the thing, and then type in what you want to call it, so floor. I now know it's my floor. And then I can go into color. The bucket, the tint amount, is connected to that. That one, original color amount, is connected to, wrong one. That, if I spray paint on that, that is the top one, the bucket one. If I come out of this one and go into, what am I doing? Click on that. Oh, click on it. Oh, I suppose I should explain. L1 and X is edit the actual thing. L1 and square brings up this function. So I'm L1 and X, so I go to edit, then you can tap circle to get rid of the ball, come into here, across to there, and that is spray paint mode. So if let me just get rid of this. So it's not in our face at the moment. Currently, the color is of its default color, which is this tan brown color. If I choose, for example, blue, watery blue, you can see it does the blue thing. If I go into here and choose, I will explain the difference between these two in a second, but it will give me a blue bump. This one, if I do that and then move it, it does nothing. I plonked it down once. If I chose this one and done it, it does a brush. That's the difference between the two. It still acts the same way. Like if you look and I do that, and if I go into it, you can see all the little circles. It still does it like it, but it's like spamming the paint. Whereas the other one is literally, I have to do it every time. So we go to paint, and then we can paint on it. It's a heavier method in the like the thermals, doing it this way. But if you go into the paint mode, choose the blue there, it's changing the tint. So if I open up I should explain, I'm spray painting the thing. It's bringing this one up, which you can do manually in here, which is quicker. Full that. Oh no, sorry. Minimum that, because we're doing less original. Maximum that. So now this determines the color, not the paint I painted on it. It's a good way to make multiple. So just say your character has a painted on t-shirt. In fact, I'll quickly do one. Right now it's blue. So just say it's a male character. You want me to go shirtless. I will hide those two so you can't see it. If I do, because right now I'm in that mode. If I paint this a different color, we'll go dark blue. We'll go a nice bright yellow. And we'll put a little, I don't know, that. Again, you can use your shapes. Change the shape from that to about there, and rings are normally a different color. Rings are normally a different color, so we'll choose a darker green. Yeah, that looks fine. Actually, no, if I enlarge it to about there. Okay, now I've got a printed top, but I didn't change its tint. Like if I come into here, that part wasn't changed. So if I go max to that, minimum to that, that's its original color. Original tint, I should say. Its original color was blue, but its original tint was white. So what I then want to do is change that to match this. So with the, not the paint mode, but the bucket mode, the fill mode, we're going to match that to that. So we'll choose this, and we'll go to here, which is the picker, which brings, so the way I can see it. Picker. So you can manually pick your color, or with it over here, you see the little dot. If I click on that, it will then set the color to that exact color I just picked off. And then I can just spray paint it here. And you'll see the little circle thing on the right. This bit up here will slowly change to the color it needs to be. So now I have a dual painted top. So if I do that and then that, I can change it. So if you wanted to make your character have a function of changing its top, I'm not going to get into these details, get the game if you want to try it out. Let's pick a function, like just say, okay, I'll change that to that, and we'll go, this is the easiest way to make a switch. Get a selector. For this situation, this one's perfect, because what you do is you wire up A to there, B to there. So when it's on A, that will be on max, and when it's on B, that one will be on max, and this one will be at nil. And then you go circle to change it. So if I now close it, and we'll do a test run, come to my character, if I tap circle, I can change between the different shirts. And that's where the tint and the other one is good. Okay, now let's move on to, as you can see, the clouds are working well. They're a little quick, but I'm not going to worry about that. But let's make this look like water base. Ideally, I need to make it grow, but actually I can quickly show that. If you hover over it and tap up on the D-pad, it will grow that thing. But I'm not going to worry about that. Let's open up its, so L1 and square to open up its thingy. And you know you're on the right one because I renamed it floor. The blue is fine. That can stay. This one, however, water's shiny, so let's turn the shininess up. Ideally, for a good looking water, you want a little bit of metallic look to it, but not a lot. So we'll go 25. You could put 1. I wouldn't go any more than about 1% in luminance, because if you've got your hand above water and in the sunlight, you'll notice there's always a bit of reflection of light because the water is reflective on your hand. If you go emitting from glow, if you don't want that illuminance, you can go to there and it won't illuminate. So I could turn this up max, it'll be full bright. But if you come into, oh, that's a little bit too much brightness. Let's try a little bit less. We'll try about there. You'll see there's no casting on the puppet. But if I do that, it's casting onto the puppet. So obviously if you've got that turned off, you can go higher on, let's just slightly reset, you can go higher on the brightness. But because it's water and it's not emitting light, it's just reflecting light. Me personally, I wouldn't go any higher than about 5%. Right? That's about 5%. If you've got that turned on, you can see the blueness coming off, turn that one down. But if you've got this one turned off, by all means, have that turned up a little bit. But because we want, actually I'll leave it as like that, but I'm going to turn this down anyway because it still looks a little too bright for my liking. I like about 1 or 2%. As you can see, they are nice flat water. But when we walk around, as if we do a test, it still sounds like we're walking on solid ground. We can do two things here. The easiest thing to do, but the least good looking thing is just go straight to your sounds. These are all presets, so you don't have to know any of how to make shit. And you go across to liquid. So when a puppet or anything interacts with this, it'll make a wet sound. So now we do a test. So technically we're on water, but it's pretty flat looking water. Admittedly, that cloud is helping a lot. But what we're going to do is go. This is the best method I found. Get your over here clone function. Select your floor and raise it however deep you want your water. So if we go about there, then select it with the L1 and square. Go into here. I'm going to go not cloudable. And turn that off just to be safe. That is how dense it is, like how solid it is, and that is whether it ignores gravity or not. So right now, that part of the water ignores gravity. But we're also going to go to this one. It can be done multiple ways through this menu, or if you come into here, into there. That does the same stuff as in here. That one corresponds. That one corresponds with that one. That one corresponds with that one. That one with the one we're on, and that one there is kind of not really represented here. It is, but it's not. But what we're just going to do is add. What we're doing is, if you look closely, see if we get near the edge. If you see the little square there, that's called a fleck. We're loosening the flecks because this game doesn't use polygons or anything; it uses flecks. Get it nice and loose, and where this one doesn't have the option, in here it does. You go apply fleck, and then we go to this one. These are all the preset flecks. They're the shapes of the flecks. Now water, I find that one there is really good. But that one's pretty good, and that one's pretty good as well. But it's your own, whatever you feel best with, and we're just going to paint it on there. Right. Now when we come to it, if you look, it looks kind of like bubbly. Now we're going to add a little bit of impasto, I suppose you can call it, which will make it fluffier. This is basically fluffiness, and that is roughness. So if you add a heap of fluffiness, and you want it to be more of a random look, you do that one. So if we get it, that's a little too rough because it's not deep water, it's fairly, so we'll go 15%. And then we go to play, or test. That looks pretty good. Water's not moving, water always moves. That looks pretty good. Just so it's not off-putting, let's get the fog and turn its speed down because that is super distracting. We'll set it at about 15. Now with the water, we want it to be moving, so we're going to go choose that. That is like an animation basics. You've got your 5 different modes. Boil. So if you're making lava, add some boil. So we'll add a good chunk, and I'll play it. Let's go and have a closer look. It kind of more like up and downs. If I add more. So that could work. But then we've got flow. more like a running water. So if you got a stream or something like that, you'd use that one. Wave is kind of a mix between that and that. Like it doesn't flow, but it just boils, like makes waves. Evaporate is kind of like flow, but away from the surface. And this one is kind of like that one, but up and thingy. So if you want to make a heart, this one would be what you'd use. We're gonna go wave. It's not real deep water, so don't get too high. 30%. And then we're going to add a little bit of flow. And because it looks more like a pond, we're not going to add a lot. We'll add, I was going to say 10, but we'll go 15. And then let's do a little test. Now you've got to admit, that looks a lot more like water than what it did. The cloud's been slow. That been that. And just to add a little bit more, we're going to make it, there it is. Let's put that back to white. I want to turn the density down to about, you know what, let's be crazy, let's go 40%. That's not bad looking water. Sounds like water. Looks like water. Looks like it's got clouds. Obviously you can see the edge, that's off-putting. And again, the spotlight doesn't have to be a spotlight. You could put, let's try it and see how it looks. Let's get rid of the spotlight. Hovering over the object, look off to the right of my little red imp. You'll see it says push triangle to delete. So just push triangle and you can delete it. Let's place an orb in. Modes, sculpt, spherical, place. We don't have to worry about sculpting or anything. We can if we want. I'll show you a quick little trick. If you click on the sculpt, so while the little circle's on here, if you go into your eye, all this sort of stuff you can turn off through these options. So like how much thermal you're using, what's visible, so that you can adjust that. If you click on it with the, where's that one? And then you go to this icon here, or this one, you'll get a line. That obviously, if you don't want to see that line, just tick that one. That one I don't use because it's more advanced stuff. But if you don't want to see that, you can turn that off. If I now click on it, you'll see that it mirrors it. And this one does the same. If I turn that one off and turn this one on. But if you look, I'll come above so you can see it. It does the 5. If you want to put 6, you up one. So what we can do is choose a different shape. We'll choose a point. Scale it down a little bit. Now, another trick too, if you want it to not better go through the, see when I'm going forward, it goes through the thing. Go into this one and into that one. It will only bump into it and then it won't go through it. It'll just bump into it. If you choose this one, it's the same thing. It's just that instead of being a normal snap, it's a more advanced snap. That one is if you want to snap to a grid. So if you want more precise movements, that's what you choose. I'm not real keen on it, but I prefer this precise because it's more precise. And then another trick, line it up to how you want it. So we're going to make a sun, so we'll go to about there. But you can see where it, around the edge of the cones, we can see it joins. If you push L1 and square, it brings out the sculpting advanced settings. So you can loosen it, sharpen it. This is the one we want. Blend them out. Go ahead. If you get too much, you get weird compensatings for the other shape. You just want it to blend slightly. Now if we place it, see how it blends more? So you just line it up nice and go about there. Now if we get that, plonk it up where we want it. So if we go to about there, suns are big, so we'll scale it up a bit. And because we're not going to be, well, we could paint a face in it, but we're not going to bother. We're going to go full amount tint, no amount of original color. And then we'll choose a sun color, so we'll go yellow, there, and we'll add some brightness. Now obviously it's distance away, so we're going to have to go a good chunk. So we'll say 50%. Let's give that a test. There's the sun. It's giving us a bit of light. Obviously the shadow is not as noticeable because it's that far away. If you don't want it to cast a shadow, again, just click on it and go to here. Say no. If you say to this one, even if you make it invisible, so you cannot see it, and then we go back in, it's still emitting the light. You just can't see the sun. Let's turn it on. And now if we do that one, and then go play, it's going to fall out of the sky. See? So that's why we don't want the top one active. So there we go. So we've got water, sky. A good trick for adding areas you can't go to, I find. So if you want to limit people's thingy, you can do two things. I'll show you another trick of the water in a minute. In fact, I'll show you now. This top water is still an object. So if we get, I don't know, it's weird, but it's in movers. We'll go to number display. And if you hold the L1, it snaps to the object. So it aligns to it. So we're going to go to the surface. Doesn't really matter where. And click. Now we're going to transparent the number because we don't want to see the number, and then we're going to go across to here and into in scene. We'll place it there. And we want it to be blue because it's going to be the surface of the water. Get rid of the edges and get rid of the shadow. Now if we go to, not that one, that one. This one here, auto fit. Turn it off. It means you have to manually fit it. You can then hover over it and grab each corner and go as big as you want. Again, I don't recommend going too nutto with these. You know what, that seems fine. We'll move it across this way a bit. Add a bit more to it. Where's my little marker? There it was. Okay. Because it was snapped to the other one, I moved that instead of just that. So if I come back up to here, you'll see that it's moved off the back. So I have to come into the actual object itself and highlight it. And if you look, if I move that, as I move it around, it does like a weird effect. So we'll just choose a spot in the middle somewhere. That's about the middle. And then we're going to make this bit darker blue than the other one. So we go there, about there. Now if we come into here, now the original piece looks more like the splashy parts. So we don't want it to be the dots anymore. So what we've got to do here is come under the blue thing, select you, and then we're going to go into this one here and go back into here, and we're going to change the flex from that to go that one. Just paint it on like that, and then we'll try it. See, and that's another way you can do the water. Obviously that blue square has no collision. You cannot turn a collision on. It's purely a visual thing. But it does have editable functions that could help you with your look of the thing. So if we go into it, ambience, illumination, so how bright it is. But because we haven't got text on, that's not going to do much in there. We have to go to this one and do the same thing here. There it is there. So you can have it full bright. We don't want that. You can make it transparent, which can be handy for if you want the water to be see-through. So if you want the surface of the water to be perfectly see-through, if you get this one and you turn its visibility off and have this one have, we'll say 50% transparency, and then test it, it still looks like water, but it's flatter water, and you can see through it. And because the surface below we made shiny, it will look shiny. If you want this surface of the water to be still just as transparent, but you want it to have more of a like a wave coming through look, there's multiple ways you can do that as well. To be honest, the easiest way to do it would be use the paint tool. So I'll quickly show you a quick trick with the paint tool. If you go, wrong one again, this one. For the purpose of what we're doing here, we're going to choose a more of a solid one, so we'll keep it on the one it's on. And before you do it, remember to change its color to a, we'll go there. There's the flag. What we want to do though, if we go to this one, you can still do that. So it does the 5 or whatever. But we don't want that one. We don't want mirror. That just does it the one way. We could use mirror, but we'd have to manually paint everything. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn him off. We've got the grid snaps. That changes so you can see all the different lightings. But what we're going to do is go to the first tool section and go to ruler. Then when we paint it, we go beginning to the end. Done. It paints a straight line, because that's all we need is a straight line. Then we can back out, and we can align this however we like. Make it whatever size we want. We'll make it nice and big. Bring it down to the surface to about there. And that's not big enough. Okay, about that size. Yeah, sounds good. Just a little bit. So if I go align, it's going to align to how I painted it, which wasn't straight. So you can see that how it ends up and like that. So if you want to be pedantic, you can actually go like, oh, perfectly line that up. Good enough. Now when I change this, we can change the color of it. So we can have it nice light and blue. Let's go to our densities. We'll loosen it up. Stretching, as you can see, can affect its look. I normally don't bother with that. Turn a little bit of that on. Yeah, it looks like it needs a bit more white. So we're going to go less of that to make it more of a white and more of that. And then this is fully what it's doing. So if you want a mix of this and this, if you do 50% that, 50% that, they will obviously be a blend. But we're going to go none of that, full of that. Add to about color there, and we'll get a blue. Yeah, it looks fine. And because we want it to look like a wave, we want this one to be as high as we can get it. Nice and fluffy. Now if we go into the thing, that is totally walkthroughable, so you can walk through it. But it's not moving. It's like, how's that a wave? That's where movers and keyframes and all that sort of stuff comes in. So let's just say we want it to go from one side to the other. Let's get it at this other end, because the wave's going that way, from left to right. And if I grab a chip, which is in here, here, and here. Excuse me. Let's call it wave. Make it easy for ourselves. There's multiple ways, there's no correct and incorrect way to do this, but the easiest way I find to do it is, that's its 0 state. If I go keyframe, grab that, and then grab the thing we want to do, move it to where we want it to be at the end of its animation, and go save. So right now we have an animation of from here to there. Okay? But we don't want instant. So if we go to here and go that, and then we can test it, you'll see, oh yeah, because I got duh. I didn't actually make it so I can press it, did I? Another quick trick here too, if you grab the controller sensor, take away all the other controls, and we don't want us to lose control of that and be locked in. We don't want to possess that. So we're going to open this up and go to the that one, in functionality. If you don't want it to be accessible, you get that one. If you want it to be possessible, you get that one. If you want it to be to go wherever this little red imp is, you do that one. But we want to do that one, so it's radar controlled or remote controlled. And if we go, we'll choose left trigger and add to that. Alright, so now if I go to test, alright, it's not moving, but if I pull my left trigger, it moves across. Release it, it gets back. So that works fine, but we don't want it to just do that. So we're going to come into here, and we're going to grab into here, and I'm going to grab this one, not the keyframe, but that one. Then take that one off, and we're going to clone it for backups. So if anything goes wrong, I've got my backup here. Clone it into here. Place it right at the beginning of the timeline. Now, however long you want it to take is how long you have it going in for. So you come in, grab the end, and you drag it. So we'll do a 0.5 second. But you got to remember, we had that delay on it. So that will affect it. We may have to adjust it. Now it's permanently on, but we don't want to just go across and that's it. So let's loop it. There it goes. It's not aligned. Well, it's nowhere near aligned, but you get the idea. Now, obviously, because that's just paint, it's not an actual solid object, we can actually edit its parameters. So we can come into here and go to this one. I'm going to turn this opacity, however people want to say it. We'll turn it down to 25%. We're going to turn its luminance up to about 4%. Okay, now let's try it. Now, because it's on a loop, it will continue to go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. See, it's less visible now, and it looks like a wave. It's a little quick, so that's where that tweaking comes in. And I'm going to jump in here, grab, so highlight over it, left trigger, left shoulder, or L1, square to open this one up. That lets you adjust it. So we're going to turn that off. Then we're going to go in and press L1 and X, which will edit its finish point. Then we're going to go, while it's highlighted, press both the L1 and R1 in. It will lock onto it and you can rotate so you can see better. And we're just going to move it down. So it's in line with the water, which is about there, and then save it. And then let's just adjust this. Where's the 1 second? It's about there, so we'll get this. Go to 1 second. Oops. Where we go? on that one and that one. About. So the 1 seconds are visible. And go to the end. And then we're going to go L1 and square to bring out that function. And we're going to slow it down. We'll set that to 25%. Let's try that. Oh, I never reset it, so it's still over there. Oh, excuse me. Okay, that's not working. Reset. Back into here. Go back into there. Again, L1 and square. We'll adjust that to... We'll do a 3. Wow. Okay, let's turn you off. Now let's go back to there. It runs fine. Yes, because... Okay. Okay, there's... I'll just to let you know too. L1 and square. L1 and X. I've opened them both. It can be done. Because it's running that and that, that's why it's taken so long. So if I do 5 seconds there, and then make this, oops, wrong button, there, whatever we want it done there. What, did it already go? Yeah. So if you play it and you watch it, you can see how quick it takes to go like that. If I turn you to, while it's playing, to 0, and then while it goes, it doesn't move. It's like instant, because we've got that set to thingy, so 5 seconds like that. There is a way you can fix that, but it's a whole lot more complicated. But if I get this one and go that, and we'll turn this down to 10, and then while it's playing, we'll see if it makes any difference. And that's how I test. It comes back. It's still fairly quick, but it's plausible. It's doable. So if you're standing in here, the wave comes across every now and then. Obviously, you can change the fleck of that. So if we come into it, select it with that. Like, you change the finish. If you turn the finish up 100%, you can then make it shinier. And you can also make it, to make it 15%, didn't I? 15%. So that matches the water more. And if you want to go even more, you can just go, oop, that one, to, what am I doing? There, to that one, to that one, and then while it's selected, select the paint. See, now it's more of a, what do you call that? Doesn't look quite right. So let's choose one that would more fit. Oh, that one looks pretty good. So it should come across like that. And obviously it's way too puffy, so you gotta go into it, go to there, find it's that one, and turn the looseness down, and then turn that one, which is the main fluffiness, down to, it looks about right. So that looks about right. Now obviously it goes from there to there, and you can see it going from either side. We don't want to be able to see that. What we want to do then is get a, I'll show you this little trick, which is using the same as what I've done up there. So if if I get him, let's clone you, you go to there. And now, because we're going more of a vertical rather than horizontal, we're going to go 5% on that. Actually, that one can stay, because that's that way. And then we're going to go this one, till we get to about right. But we're going to go noise strength at 0, density at max, noise scale at 0, noise speed at 0. And we're going to get it to go, choose a blue that's very similar to the water, like that, but also similar to the sky, so we'll go about there. So now if we move that to the spot, say about there, so it's, nope, it's too far. That will hide that, but as you can see, you can still see through it. Even though that is 100%. So what you could also do is get one of these water ones. Doesn't matter which one. The looser one would be cooler, but it doesn't matter. Clone tool. Grab a box. Turn it on its side. Move it to its spot, so it will hide it. So about there somewhere. And this is where you got to match it to the colouring you want. So about there-ish. Turn that to 0. Now here you could go either way, but it doesn't matter. But what we're going to do is go to that. Fully loosen it up. And go to its thing and add whatever you feel like adding. Make it look like smoke. So we'll say that. Kind of looks like smoke, but that's a little fast. So long as that is active and that is active, we're good. This stuff here doesn't matter. If you want it so that you can see it but go through it, turn that one off. You better walk through there. Same with if you go to that one. You can tell it to allow an item to go through, but not the puppet, just by telling it which labels are allowed through. So if you now look here, we can't get through there. And because it's a solid thing, the wave should, you can still slightly see it at the ends because I haven't fully covered it up, but through there, you can't see it. You add one to the other side, and you're stuck in this little thing. And you could even add the sound effect of a wave coming through as that goes through. And that looks kind of like fog. So those are my tips. No one's joined or posted anything, so can't answer any questions or help anyone out. But hopefully, the tips for the sky, the water, or hopefully all that helps. Again, with the sun, if you want to change it so it's got a face, just quickly before the it comes up, you can come up here, select it, change it from that to that, that to that. Then when you select on it, if you go to the paint option and choose we'll go black, because black shines the least. Turn off its kaleidoscope, but we'll turn on its mirror. No, we won't because it's not aligned. It doesn't matter. And we'll choose a circle. Like that. Now it's got a face. So I hope that helped. If I get a handful of views for this, I'll do a part 1, part 2, anything like that. Try and find more shit that people find difficulty with. I will add 3 more walls and I will upload this so that people can use it. So if you've watched this and you've got dreams, or you think about getting dreams and you get it, by all means you'll be able to use this and edit it. Let me know if you're on dreams and you watch this stream, or you've downloaded this and watched this stream, then and you need help, throw me a message. So I'm going to go. I'll catch you all next time. Hope this helped. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Catch you next time.